Imagine standing in the wreckage of your entire civilization. The kingdom of Judah has collapsed, Jerusalem's walls are breached, and the Holy Temple, the center of your universe, is reduced to ash. The physical devastation was absolute. The foundation stones of a centuries-old dynasty were violently torn apart, leaving the survivors standing in the rubble of a fallen nation. Those survivors were dragged hundreds of miles away to Babylon. Trapped behind massive, alien walls, the exiled Israelites faced a crushing psychological reality. They had lost their homes, their freedom, and their identity. This raised a terrifying theological crisis. God had promised King David an eternal throne. Now, with no king and no country, the exiles wondered if their own failures had completely canceled that covenant. They questioned if they were still God's people. This manuscript of 1 Chronicles Charter 3 functioned as a vital legal document for the exiles. It was a meticulously preserved record of the families who had survived the fire and the march across the desert. For a ruined people, these names were the definitive proof that human rebellion and national failure cannot void a divine promise. The historical record is honest about the deep flaws within David's own household. It lists sons involved in treason, violence, and profound tragedy, highlighting a royal line marked by human failure from the very beginning. This diagram outlines the branching royal family tree. Notice the selection for the throne, Solomon, bypassing older traditional heirs. The text also explicitly mentions Tamar. Though a victimized daughter, not a monarch, she is recorded alongside kings, ensuring her place in history is never forgotten. These specific inclusions demonstrate a standard that defies human expectations regarding merit, social status, or birth order. God consistently built his kingdom using imperfect, repentant people, ensuring the marginalized were woven into the core of his sovereign plan. This timeline charts hundreds of years of monarchy, cycling through righteous and rebellious rulers alike. It hits a brutal wall at Zedekiah, marking the Babylonian exile. The dynasty appeared dead, but the names continue through captivity, proving Babylon couldn't dismantle God's protected lineage. The bloodline survived. Figures like Zerubbabel eventually returned to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, but the physical throne itself was never actually restored. The genealogy proves that the lineage remained intact, yet it leaves the people with a throne that remained empty. The promise was preserved, but the king had yet to appear. The names in 1 Chronicles 3 do not simply trail off into history. They form the foundation for the opening pages of the New Testament, where the gospel writers pick up this exact same thread of descendants. Tracing these names from the ruins of Babylon to a carpenter's son in Nazareth, the record finds resolution in Jesus Christ, the promised king. Jesus is the true son of David who establishes the eternal kingdom that flawed earthly monarchs were unable to maintain. The despair of the Babylonian exile mirrors moments in our own lives, seasons of failure, heartbreak, or the feeling of being completely cut off from hope. Just as national ruin could not overturn God's faithfulness to ancient Israel, our present struggles do not dictate the end of our story. Our enduring hope does not rely on flawless circumstances or human leaders, but in the reality that through Christ, God's promises never fail.